and the clergy, I'm appalled. I'm appalled by the targeting that is taking place in the South Central Los Angeles district. The targeting is specifically against the children. While we have respect for the teachers and those who are striking, it was obvious when you have other people who are considered and you leave out a large portion of children that are black and brown, that it's targeted. It's an egregious injustice that has been done. And today, as Community Build and other clergy and churches step up, we pray that this will never happen again.
Thank you, Pastor Marshall. As many of you know, Community Build, along with over 32 agencies and churches, joined forces during the pandemic to form the Community Response System of South Los Angeles. So in order to deal with this effort, phase one of our efforts have been to feed the young children and families in our backyard immediately this week. If the strike continues to go beyond today into next week, then we will go to phase two of our emergency operations plan to engage the entire CRSS LA network of over 32 agencies throughout South Los Angeles. I want to ask Ernest Williams to step forward and talk a little bit about some of the things we've been able to accomplish this week. Ernest?
Thank you, Robert. My name is Ernest Williams, EAR, N-E-S-T, W-I-L-L-I-A-M-S. I am the Director of Community Support Services here at Community Build and our Director of our Cure LA program. Well, we were contacted by some of the local schools once the strike started to assist them in providing some meals for a lot of the students that depend on breakfast and school lunches as their daily meals. So Community Build, along with WISH and Grace's Outreach, came together to partner with local grocery markets and every table to provide over 3,300 meals exactly to the local families in our community. We've given out over 3,000 pounds of food, which is equivalent to 3,300 meals. We've given them from Tuesday till Friday. We'll be giving it until the strike ends. We're here for the community. We're here with great partners to really assist on the food insecurities that plague our community. 20% of Californians suffer from food insecurity, but here in South Los Angeles, that number jumps to 25%. So, as Pastor Marshall was saying, it's a targeted effort, and we're here to combat and help our families in need. Thank you.
Thank you. Also joining us from our faith-based community as part of our CRSS LA network is Deacon Doug Johnson, in the Holy Name of Jesus Catholic Church. Deacon?
Hello, my brothers and my sisters. My name is Deacon Douglas Johnson. I come from the Holy Name of Jesus Catholic Church over in Jefferson and Arlington, and I also work with Avalon Carver Community Center. And I have spent my years working with young people in South LA who are in the need of food, help, and nourishment. And I realize that benign neglect is abuse. And so now, once again, we are neglected and abused because we are not brought into consciousness the need for food. And I realize that we cannot reach the hearts and the souls of a human being before we reach their stomachs. Amen. So we are here to work together. I believe in a church without walls. I believe in a church without boundaries. I believe that we need to come together with all denominations, all people of faith, and create a solution for this situation. So I'm here for the long haul. I'm here to work together with anyone who wants to meet the needs of young people who need food in their bellies.
Thank you, Johnson. You know, the impact of this is also broader than food. There were a number of children during the strike who have been released to go home without a clear plan on what to do. And most impacted are black and brown students. But how do you do that in the context when the school district itself has a black student achievement program? Talk to us today a little bit about that as Alberta Moore, who's part of our network. Alberta?
Hello, I am Alberta Moore from the CRSSLA Health and Education Committee, and I am the chair of the Education Committee for the Randall Simmons Outreach Foundation. Since the pandemic, the problem of black student achievement has been magnified. We were already dealing with achievement gap. And so the gaps with communication in regards to parents, I'm a parent of a student at LAUSD, widened. There was no clear-cut plan in terms of dealing with individual education plans. So once again, we are in the tsunami that's affecting black students at a higher rate than other students. Cressler, we're actively working with our network to address the Black Student Achievement Plan, and we're talking to those leaders in LAUSD to get some answers in a definitive plan and funding behind this plan. Thank you very much for your attention.
Thank you, Alberta. Alberta's led a big education committee for us with CRSSLA Network. And since we started the network, we've distributed over 30 million pounds of food collectively. We have come together to make a huge difference in our community academically by supporting children with Chromebook computers during the pandemic and making sure they have a high dosage tutoring that's needed. So when you let children out of school for economic reasons, we have to make sure that the economy of us doesn't interfere with the humanity of us. And that's just what's taking place today. I'm going to ask Kimlin Johnson to talk a little bit about the impact of STEM education. And then as I do that, I want to also highlight the fact that just in ADA funds alone, over the last 3 days, $100 million has been lost because that money is not being directed to children in ADA-related programs. That is a shame. And that's what happens when you have poor planning around strikes. And we're not against the teachers. We know they need to be paid well. But this could have been dealt with better. Kimberly?
Thank you, Robert. How could you target black and brown students again, again, and again? It is countless times that we have to go through this. My name is Kimlin Johnson. I'm with the Be Relit organization, and we bridge the STEM gap that exists for underserved students. Now, I offered math classes for students on Tuesday and Wednesday, and I had one student show up. That student that showed up was in the 5th grade in elementary school. He could not multiply or divide. That's what we are seeing. Our organization is on the ballot for math anxiety, solving math anxiety in middle school and high school students for the Southeast LA Repair Zone. I support these efforts. I'm on Cressler, and please vote for us at this upcoming election, April 1st. Thank you.
So I want to also highlight some of our food partners. We could not do this without them. We got the call on Monday. By Tuesday, we were ready to roll. And one of the first people to respond to us was Tyrone Nance. So Tyrone, I'm actually going to come forward and talk a little bit about the work you're doing to support these families and your organization.
Thank you. In order to bridge gaps, you need bridge builders. So I thank you so much, Mr. Sausedo, for being able to assemble this amazing team of support, because that is what's needed. My name is Tyrone Nance. I run an organization called It's Bigger Than Us, where we focus on health equity and community activation. And one of our community activations is our food disparity. We focus on partnering with organizations like Community Build and so many others by supporting the community every Tuesday and Friday with our food distribution and resources. So not only are we giving out 1,500 pounds of fresh food and produce, but we're also giving diapers, wipes, and other resources as well to support the community. And one of the most staggering stats above everything we're mentioning is 80% of the students living in LAUSD are under the poverty line. So when you have a strike and you only have 24 locations, that puts a lot of people, that puts a lot of families, that puts a lot of organizations at a stopping point. And so it's important that organizations like ours are looped in so that we can be able to be a part of creating the solution and creating the avenues, because no one knows our community as well as we do. And so I'm really thankful that we get to stand up here, be a part of the change that's going on, but also at the same time, standing up and being accountable for what needs to be done. And so if this continues to go on, we'll be continuing bringing in more partners and more resources so that we can support our community. Thank you.
And one of our last speakers I'm going to bring up this morning has really been the boat, if you would, of this work. And that's Malik Owens from Wish. And the food that you see being distributed today and all week has been in part because of the Wish organization. So if you can step forward and talk a little bit about what you're doing to help us meet this crisis in the weeks to come.
Sure. Thank you very much. My name is Malik Owens. I am the CEO and founder of Welcoming Internship Housing. We are a housing and social service organization based in Los Angeles. And I'm very proud. First, I would like to touch back with Robert and say he did announce the time frame that we had to get this together, and it did only take us about 3 days to provide about 35 meals. So that's very important. I want to touch back into the food insecurity. A lot of times we do address food insecurity in the public and in the news as a crisis. It is much more. As he said, it is a emergency. There's more than one repercussion that comes from food insecurity, and I think it's important to understand that mental health is also one thing that ties into food insecurity. One of the biggest things that Welcoming Internship Housing, I'm sure Community Build as well, tries to do is to prevent mental health issues. So when you have young children that are out of school and those parents are depending on that food, and they themselves are experiencing unsure of how they're going to get food, that creates long-term mental health. This is a way where we can nip it in the bud and find a way to attach the food to the individuals and the families themselves and try to increase their quality of life. I think it's important to recognize even when these kids are in school, they get 2 meals a day in school, they still have to go home. There's still food in school. So I'd like to thank you and everyone who joined us in moving forward with this effort. This is just a step, and we'll be moving forward in this project.
Thank you. Thank you. So South LA has long had a food insecurity problem, highlighted by the pandemic. And so moments in time like this continue to remind us that there is a huge disparity of families, black and brown, who need food in their households. Organizations like ours are coming together to shore that up. We've always been about the business of stepping out there before government if we have to make sure that people have what they need. So what can you do to help? Let me talk to the press first. Thank you all. You have every step of the way of everything that we've done. You push the messaging out in a positive way to make sure that the right coverage is on the right issues at the right time. So thank you for that, and please continue to be a big part of that. Secondly, what you can do if you want to get involved, go to send an email to foodsecurity@communitybuild.org. Foodsecurity@communitybuild.org if you want to make a contribution financially, services, goods, or otherwise. Go to foodsecurity@communitybuild.org. CRSS LA Network is designed to be the safety net of South LA. It has since become the equivalent of the Red Cross for urban America. We will continue these efforts to do good for our community and build out a platform for people to have a safe place to go, a safe place to get food. Here's my last point. I don't want any family member, any person in our community, because our entire community is our family, to be ashamed of the fact you have to come and get some food. We have staff members that have to do it, okay? We don't know how people's incomes are impacting their households, but what we do know is there's folks out here who are not eating right, not eating well, and have a high need. Put the pride aside and let us help you today. God bless you, and I'll open up to any questions you may have at this time.
I have a statement.
What is the,
And my statement is that I really appreciate what you all are doing, because food, shelter, and clothing is the basic necessity to alleviate this here delinquency within our community and this here crime rate within our community. and this here disparity and hopelessness within our community. Because in the long run, if people don't support your program now, taxpayers and people who are interested and people who are responsible is going to suffer in the long run, because we're talking about tomorrow's generation. So we got to support them now and protect them now, so tomorrow we don't have to fill the prisons up and pay for people to be housed in jail. You know what I'm saying?
Thank you very much for that. Next question here.
So basically, you're upset or angry about two things. One, that LA Unified did not set up grab-and-go centers in South Los Angeles. Number two, that the union didn't think of your needs when they went on strike. Can you elaborate on those two?
Certainly. So let me make it clear that more than upset, I'm standing on the right side of a social justice issue where people's personal agendas have gotten in the way of our children and our families that we support, first and foremost. And when you make decisions where economics comes over humanity, or as I said earlier, the economics of us supersedes the humanity of us, that's a problem. And that's what we're standing for today. The fact that when we know that people have to go out and lobby for wages, we get that. But you cannot cast our children aside, particularly when they're not being educated right in the first place. So we're going to stand for that. Many people know that many of these families rely upon the food sources in the school system because that's the first meal a kid may have of the day, the second meal of the day. And so we're going to stand for that, continue to fight the good fight, to make sure the young people throughout South Los Angeles, today we're in Laverne Park, we're talking about the whole of South LA, is part of the art of our work in this community.
And then as far as you were saying weren't getting grab-and-go food centers that they were talking about. Can you talk about that?
So when we were contacted by Audubon Middle School, it was brought to our attention that 24 locations were open for one day for food distribution, and not one of them was in South Los Angeles. Not one. Not everyone here should be angry as hell. I'll leave it at that, explicative only. But you know what I mean. We have got to stop this systemic, I'm gonna call this racism. You wanna talk about calling out racism? The fact that you have to think about black and brown folks secondarily, when the highest need is in those communities, and yet it's the last touch point that you have, or even a touch point you don't consider. That's egregious, it's irresponsible, and someone needs to be called out for it. Next question.
Who do you think needs to be called out for that?
I think the superintendent, and I think the president of the union needs to take a closer look at how they're impacting communities when they take these moves. Again, I'm not anti-labor. I'm a big labor guy. But let's do things right, and let's make sure that systemic racism, bigotry, and lack of care for people just getting paid to teach and educate and support families are handled the way that other parts of town are. So here, let me go back to, thank you. Let me go back to this. This doesn't end when the strike is over. This is why I'm saying if you want to help, send your information, sign up under food security at communitybuild.org. Food security at communitybuild.org. We've got spring break right on the horizon and then summer after that. And so we continue to look for ways to support the community moving forward. But I think this is a time when people have to dial it back a little bit and make sure we put these kids first. With that said, I want to thank you for your time. God bless you all. Thank you for being here.
You can bless. Thank you.